Howdy everyone, this is Tricia and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how I put together this spooky tea light candle. It was very fun to put together and I think it is a really creative idea and I want to share that with you. So if you'd like to see how I did that, keep on watching. Alright, so to create my little standing tea light ghost, I want to first take some wire. This is an 18 gauge wire and I'm going to cut 18 inches of it. Okay, so now I'm going to take some needle nose pliers and I'm going to start at one of the ends coiling it in. Okay, so let's start coiling it in. We don't want a tight coil, okay? And I'm going to do this till I have about, I think 11 inches is what I made myself a length, a note. So let me go ahead and mark where the 11 inches is. Yeah, right about here. I'm going to go ahead and bend it right there. Where this is now 11 inches over here. So the rest of this, which should be, well, I cut 18 inches. It should be about 7 inches that you're kind of coiling around. Just keep doing that till you have like a little coiled base. It doesn't have to be round. Okay, so now I'm going to take my little tea light. And I got these from Dollar Tree. They're super inexpensive. And then just make sure that this fits in there, and it does. That's all I want to make sure. Now you could glue this down, glue it down onto the base, but I want to be able to, you know, because you could lift it up like that and then reach in, or just make sure that the little switch is, you know, clear of the wire that's going around when you glue it down. But I want to be able to remove it and put in a new one if I have to replace it, because my little ghosts are obviously going to last longer than my little tea lights. So we want to flatten this out as much as we can because we're going to want it to stand. So in order to get it to also stand, I'm going to put the little tea light on there again, and I'm going to bend it just above, just a little bit, you know, just above the height of the tea light. Okay, I don't want to bend it way down here, but somewhere where it clears the little tea light. Bend it. And then you can straighten this other part upward. I've already done this little type of ghost on this wire a couple of times, and it stood just fine. Okay, now it's standing just fine. Okay, but you do want to bend this towards the center and then up. Okay, because you want to bring all this weight that's going to be on here. You want to center that weight so it balances. And we want to do this until it stands. Okay. And a lot of times it's because our little base is not straight. Okay, there it is. And once we put our little tea light, everything will be fine, I hope. Okay, once we have that, I took a strip of this foam. Mine happens to be glittered. It doesn't have to be. It could be a piece of like a little white cardboard, like a poster board, anything like that that you can, you know, bend like that and shape it to the shape you need. And this is not something that you need to have on there. This is completely optional. You can completely leave that out because you can just put your tea light under there like that, and that's fine. The only reason that I'm going to do this next step is because I want to be able, when I lift my little ghost up, I move it around. It moves with my little tea light, and then I don't have to be like, oh, replacing the little tea light under there, you know, lifting up the little ghost skirt and sliding it in there. I want to form a little base for it. Now, if you happen to have like a toilet paper roll or a little paper towel roll, and that goes around your tea light, if your tea light will fit in there, that would be perfect. And that would actually be a nice little way to also get this to balance out a little bit better. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'm going to glue this around the edges here on the wire, and then I also want to glue a little bit down onto this part of the wire. Let me do this a little bit better. I want this a little bit straighter. But before I glue it down, I just want to make sure that it overlaps right here. And this is where it actually starts touching the wire. So I'm going to start right here. Okay, so I'm going to glue that down little by little. Okay, so we're almost coming to where we don't have any more wire going around where it can grab onto. So then we can trim off pieces, but first, now that I know that all that's glued down, that's glued down to what I can possibly glue it to and wire, then I can go ahead and Actually, I'm going to bring this one over, and I'll trim that first. I'll trim that. I want it to go beyond this wire now that's going up right here, like that. I want it to go beyond that. Don't cut it shorter than that. Make sure it crosses over it. Okay, now we can go ahead and put glue on that bit of wire there. I'm trying to hold this so you can see what I'm doing. Get it to go on there, and then just let it glue down to that. And then you can bring this one where you started and glue it down to that piece of foam, and then trim as needed. But I'm going to go beyond the wire. Make sure also again. There we go. And we're just going to let that dry. And then before we continue with anything, we're going to test it out and make sure this little tea light fits in there. And if it doesn't, redo it. Okay, it's dry enough where I can test this now. That fits in there perfectly. I can take it out, put it back in, move it around, and that actually helps balance out the whole thing. So now it's going to stand. So let's make sure this is going over it, and then back up the center here. There we go, like that. Okay, so now we're going to cut 6 inches of wire. I've already measured and cut it. And then we're going to fold it at the center, just to mark where our little center point is. And then just put it aside for now. Okay, now, so from your floor up, we're going to measure 4 inches. Right there, okay? Now, don't measure 4 inches of wire like that. Just measure up 4 inches. Right there. And I'm going to bend it to one side first. Like that. Okay, and then I'm going to fold, now that I've got it, and you want to make sure that it's, this is the front, right? So you want to going, this would be your left, right? Well, I don't know if you're looking at it, it's going right, but if you're looking at it from the back, so that it's going to your left. And then about 1/2 inch, fold it back, up, and back like that. And then another 1/2 inch on the right now. Now fold this back. So you have this little kind of a paper clip looking, bent. And then you're going to, right at the middle, bend this wire back up. Like that. So you're going to get that. And for some reason, that little bit works out for me. Okay? So now we're going to straighten up our little arms as best as we can. And I'm going to just put them. I'm going to put, let me see, I pinch this down like that. Okay? I pinch this down. And then making sure that it's going across like that. And this is the front here and the back going like that. And this is going the opposite way. So then what I did is I kind of just fed this through here. And then the other end, I fed it through the other curve. And it doesn't make sense yet. And then that little bend that I have there, make sure that ends up in the middle. And then just kind of bend your little arms like that. And then bend the wire so that it's kind of leaning up on that little loop there. And this one too. And we're going to put glue, hot glue, on all of that, okay? And you're going to put lots of it. Lots of glue. Turn it around and do it from the other side as well. Okay, so now we're going to let that dry really well, okay? Leave it alone. If you have to add a little bit more glue later, go ahead. But for now, just leave it alone, and it's like you have like a little cross on a stand right now. Okay, I went ahead and I fixed mine because I was noticing that this wire was not coming like straight up like that. Okay, so that's all dry, and I have fixed it and all that I did. Now on the ends here, I'm going to go ahead and bend the little tips, make a tiny little loop, make sure it kind of closes in the little end of the sharp edge of the wire closes into itself there. You don't want little pointed edges there because it could be pokey and that could hurt somebody, especially the kids. If they're going to be going around this and setting it up or something, you don't want them to get poked by the edges of the wire. It's not very thick wire, but I mean, if it pokes enough, you know, at a good amount of strength, it could, you know, pierce skin, and it could cut somebody. And then you obviously, we don't want, you know, the little arms maybe piercing somebody even in the eye or something like that. It could be very dangerous. So make sure you fold your little arms and then just shape them however you think you want your little arms to go. Okay. Next thing we want to add is a styrofoam ball. And this is about, yeah, this is 1.5 inch diameter, in case you're wondering the size that I'm using. All right, so we're going to go ahead and add some glue right here. The front and the back there. And then we'll slide this styrofoam ball in there. And there we go. Okay, so now that we've got this coming out the top, it's not quite centered. And if for some reason it's not, make sure that you twirl your little ball around before the glue dries, so that you get most of it like in the front. And another way to make sure that it doesn't slide back down is to also fold our wire right there. And then I'm going to trim it because I don't need this bit here. Okay, so now I'm going to bend this again, and I'm going to poke it into the styrofoam ball like that. See? Just to make sure that sharp edge is not somewhere where it's going to poke somebody. And now we're going to put some glue there to hold it in place. All right, so the next step is to take some cheesecloth, some fabric like this, or really any fabric that can drape downward. You can maneuver to drape downward, you know, like a gauze or some sort of a linen, maybe even a cotton fabric. I like using the cheesecloth. I like the effect that it has, and I like that I can fray the little edges to it, but that's completely up to you. And of course, you can do your little ghosts whatever colors you want. You don't have to do them in white. Okay, so I'm going to cut enough of this. This is like folded in 4s, and I want that whole amount because that's a good length to do this, and I want to double it. So I'm going to keep it like that as far as the length for the height of my ghost. But I want to cut enough this way and that way to fit it like fit the length of my sleeves or my arms. So I'm going to cut a little bit beyond, and I'll tell you how much I cut in just a moment. Okay, so let's get this. This is about 10 inches going across, you know, for the arms like that. And it is about 9 inches, a little bit less, you know, it's about 8.5, I guess, in the height, okay? So now I want to open this up so that I have it folded in half. And this particular one happens to be folded once, and then it's, for some reason these are the edges are folded towards the center, but I want to fold it at the center. Again, I'm going to double up my fabric because it is this cheesecloth. If you don't have quite a see-through fabric, then you don't have to double it up. Again, this was 10 inches like that, and it was about 8.5 or so. So going like this now, it is about 17 inches. Okay, so you know, 8.5 by, 17 inches by 10 will give you the 10 by 8.5. Okay, there we go. And that's if you're doing everything at the measurements that I'm doing. Okay. All right. So a little dot of glue there. Let me go ahead and put this on top of my little. I want to put the fold right at the top on the head. Oops, sorry. Let's do this again. I'm gonna lay him flat so he doesn't keep falling on me. Make sure that center is at the top of the head, or the fold of the fabric, where I folded it in half. So right there. Okay, and then I'm going to make sure that, you know, the lengths are about where I want them to be. You can just maneuver things a little bit. That's good enough. Okay, I'm just going to lift it up a little bit like that, put some glue back here, and then put the fabric back. All right, so now I want to bring my fabric down, keeping that center line or the fold right on top of the little arms here. So you might have to lift it so that you can poke it in like that. Poke it into under the head here. Okay, and then on one side, I'm going to lift it and put glue right here on the little ball, the styrofoam ball, and then it would be like the little shoulder of the arm. And then I want to put the fabric back, making sure it's on that center line where I wanted the center of the fold to be, and then just push that in there. Okay, push it in there like that, because you want to form that shape, and you want to have the shape of the head getting formed there. Okay, and we do the same thing on the other side. You can see the little ghost shape forming. Pretty cool, huh? Okay, so now we want to make sure we attach it at the back of the head. It's a little bit of glue. So this time when I'm pushing down the fabric, it's okay if it gets a little bit pinched, a little bit pleated. Kind of want that because I want to make sure that I get this gauze or fabric to go around the rounded shape of the head. So pinch it and push it into the glue. If you have to add a little bit more glue, little tiny bits just to push the fabric in, you know, do that. Just be careful, don't burn yourself. Just do that. All right, we can do the same thing in the front. Glue at the neck there, and then a little bit, I don't want to get it too much on the front of the styrofoam ball. I want to make sure that I don't see any glues or lumps under there. Okay, I'm going to bring the fabric down the center, then down like that, and then I'm going to pinch these pieces here inward. And we're going to keep doing that and add glue as needed to get that fabric to tuck under there. That looks really cute. A little bit more over here. Tuck in those pieces of fabric. There we go. And look, see how pretty that looks? All right, so now we're gonna look at it, fix our fabric the way that we want it to drape. In this case, I just barely wanted to touch the table. You could have it so that it drapes out. So if you're fine with it like that, leave it alone. But I'm going to go ahead and trim it. Okay, before I do that, one little thing. Is it right on that little loop that I made on the wires? Where the hands would be. A little bit of glue, and then just lightly press down your fabric onto it, just so that doesn't move as well. Do it on the other side too. There we go. Just like that. All right, but I'm going to trim it. Like I said, if you want it draping out like that, that's fine. But make sure you cut it. If you folded it in half, if you're doing what I'm doing with the cheesecloths, you know, cut that fold. But I'm going to trim it, and I'm going to go kind of like at a roundish way upward towards the sleeves. So I'm going to round off these corners. I don't want them square. But you can do whatever you want. You can cut into it, make it all jagged if you want. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same thing, and make sure you don't throw away those little scraps, because I'm going to use them. Okay. There we go, like that. I don't have much of a scrap left over. I did in the first one, so I'm going to end up cutting another piece of the cheesecloth. Let's see. Let me look at it one more time. Okay, so I need to trim off a little bit more over here on this side so that it matches the length of the other on the arm. It doesn't have to be exact. Okay, so then what I did is I make sure that I separate my little cheesecloths or gauze, whatever you have. If you're using double, again, if you're using single, this doesn't apply. And then I just kind of fray the edges a little bit. Just fray it as much as you want. Don't do too much. You don't want to end up with no fabric. Little threads coming out, and then you end up with nothing. But you do want to pull on some of them. You want to give it a rough look. If you don't like that, don't do it. So I've done it to the first layer, and I want to do it to the second layer, and then I'm going to repeat this on the back. All right, so I've gone ahead and I've done all the fraying that I'm going to do. So now I want to glue this little fabric down a little bit onto the spine here, and this part right here that comes down. And just grab it like that, pinch it and pleat it. This kind of helps to hide the wire in there so you don't see it so much. See, it's not really all that visible. And in the front, there's no wire coming down right here, and we don't want to attach it to the very back because then it's going to bring the fabric in there like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pinch it a little bit, and what I'll do is I'm going to lift this first layer And this is only going to apply to the gauze. You don't have to do this on another fabric unless, of course, you want to create little pleats. Then by all means do this. Just little pleats, a little bit of glue. Just in the bottom, just to kind of thicken that fabric there a little bit, just so that you don't see too much of that wire. And then, of course, we pinched it up here, so that makes this right here fold and drape really nicely, so you don't see the, you can't see through the wire. But I can still see a little bit on the little arms. And again, the next step that I'm going to do is only going to apply if you're using a very sheer fabric that you can see the wire. Okay, so I cut a little length of more of that cheesecloth, and it is folded in half here, so I only want one layer of one folded piece, and I'm going to fold it in half again, and then again like that, and then I'm just going to kind of round off the edges like so. Okay, and oops. And then I'm going to grab my little ghost, and I'm going to gather this up on the center, just kind of pinch it like that. Okay, and we're going to go to the back of our ghost. Put a little bit of glue there across the neck, the back of the neck, or what would be the right under the little head, because he doesn't really have a neck. And then we're going to pinch this fabric on it. Right now it's going to look like it's little angel wings, but you'll see what I'm going to do. Okay, and then we're going to drape this over the little arms here. Bring that around and drape it over the arms, and let this kind of come over it like that. Here it is. Just let it kind of flip on top of there. And then, of course, you're going to want to also kind of pull on it a little bit, make it all fray. Again, this only applies if you're using this cheesecloth. And then this helps to hide that little arm. And just to keep the shape so that we don't lose that, where you can see the little arms, a little bit of glue down, and push this down onto the wire. Flip it down like that, so that, there we go, like that. So that we keep that shape, that ghostly shape, the little arms bending upward like that, like woo. Okay, so now I want to fray this in the back as well. Okay, so there he is. And we'll go to the next step. All right, for my next step, I'm going to take these little pumpkin decor that I bought. It was a 6-pack that I bought at the Dollar Tree. So I'm going to pull one of them out, and I'm going to remove this wire that's in there. Don't need that. And I'll just look for the nicer side, I think right here. And I can draw a little jack-o'-lantern face using my Sharpie. I also have some black paint and a very thin pointed brush, so that I could do the little faces, not only on the jack-o'-lantern, but on the little ghost. Alright, so there we go. I've gone ahead and I've used my Sharpie just to kind of draw where I want the eyes and the mouth. And you kind of have to do this little stippling motion, because you can't really just draw like that, because the little fibers of the cheesecloth move around so much, and then you get a misshapen figure, whatever you've drawn. So now I can just go over with a paintbrush with black paint. But if you like that, and you got a good Sharpie that's not already losing ink, like mine is, then just leave it like that. Okay, so there's marked with the Sharpie, and I'm just going to put some black paint on there. So here we go, just like that. We're just going to let that dry really well. I'm going to put it off to the side so I don't touch it by accident. And now I'm going to do the little ghost. Just dab it in there rather than brushing it, because these little fibers will move around, little threads, and then it'll look all smeared. Well, you don't want that, right? Alright, so while the paint on our pumpkin and our little face is drying, I'm going to make a little bow, and this is completely optional. I'm going to cut about, let me see, is that enough? Yeah, that's about 5 inches right here. And then I want to cut another pieces about 2.5 inch each. So I'll do 2 of those. And on these, I'm going to fold them in half and do the little dovetail cut on them. So I have that. There you go. And you can use any ribbon. I thought that's super cute because it had little ghosts. And I did get this from Hobby Lobby. $1.25 for a 5/8 inch wide. And there's 4 yards in here, so that's pretty good. Anyway, we're going to take this longer piece and fold the edges towards the center, you know, bring them towards the center and overlap them a little bit. Not too much, just a little bit. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put a little bit of glue under here. A little glue under there. Glue that little edge down, and then a little glue on there. And then we'll bring the other edge down on top of that. Okay, so we have that. And the little parts where they overlap are right here. So I'm going to turn them around. I want this to be my front. And I'm just going to pinch this down a little bit like that. And right in the center here, put some glue. So fold that into itself on the back. And then in the front, the little edges fold over towards the front. So a little bit of glue there. Fold that one down. I'm going to turn it over so I can do the other edge here. And then just fold it down. And you might want to use some pliers to hold it down so you don't burn your fingers. Okay, so we want a little bow like that. So then we take these two bits that we cut, the two straight edges, and then glue, just kind of crisscross them a little bit like that. A little bit of glue. Put them together. And then we're going to put glue in the front here. And our bow, we want it facing, and then of course, because it has little ghosts, I want to make sure the little ghosts are you know, facing the right way. So we're going to glue that down like so to create the bow. And that's it. That's all we need to do. If any of the these little tails are sticking up in the top here, you can, if you can see them, just trim a little bit that you can see. There you go. And then if you want to add anything extra to the center, go right ahead. I think it looks fine just like that. Here's my ghost. I'm going to add some glue now to the back there and glue it right there. Okay? I don't know if my pumpkin is quite dry yet. It is not, but we're going to go ahead and glue it down. So on the bottom, this is like that. You're looking at it like that. Do a line of glue going across it like that. And you're going to put that glue right here on the rest, rest it on that little arm there. Okay? Now to keep that little pumpkin from flopping forward or back, we're going to add a little bit of glue right where it touches the head. Sorry, my hand was in the way. But right where it touches the head, right in there, add some glue. So you make sure that it glues onto the head right here, so it doesn't flop forward or it doesn't flop back. And be careful not to touch the face of either one of them. I don't want to smear them. Last thing is to turn on our little light. And then we can tuck it in under the dress here. And there we go. All right, everyone. Here are my completed little ghosts. I think it would be cute to make a little trio, but I'm only going to make 2. These are actually going to my niece, Crystal. She's a family of 4 now. I'd have to make 4. I'd have to go get more tea lights. I think she would appreciate this, just the 2, maybe 1 for each of her little boys. So there we go, you guys. This is completed, and I'm very happy with my spooky tea light ghosts. So I'm going to give myself a big old thumbs up, and I hope that you too will give me a big old thumbs up and leave a kind comment down below and let me know what you think of my little spooky ghosts. Do you like this idea? I love it. This is like the 3rd time that I do it with some lights. And if you saw my 2 previous videos, you'll know what I'm talking about. And I made a really small one the first time in a haunted house, and then I made a little bit bigger than this on a terracotta pot with a string of lights. And now I made it with tea lights. All right, everyone, if you're enjoying this and you haven't already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button and then choose all in your notifications so that you get notified as soon as I upload a video. I really do hope that you enjoyed this and have a super wonderful weekend. And as always, enjoy.